My, what a lesson we learnt 3 weeks ago. Underestimating the underdog is a big mistake. The season opener was an absolute thrill of a race. Now, though, we head to a truly legendary circuit for the San Marino Grand Prix. Of course, it's Imola. Welcome back to the Formula Sim Racing World Championship. Had a good day of racing thus far in the Pro Academy series, but up here with the big boys, myself, Lewis McGlade, alongside me, Cameron Rodger. Cam, we won't talk too much about your race specifically, don't worry, but Imola is a track that you can definitely do a bit of racing on.
Yeah, unfortunately, my race specifically didn't go too well, but the two races we had earlier this afternoon, the Academy and the Pro Series, were absolutely amazing. It has to be said, this track, Imola, 4.9 kilometers, 63 laps we'll have today, 2 DRS zones, and especially the one down the main straight is really long, heading down to the first braking zone, which is actually known as turn number 2 in these cars. They have 976 horsepower. They got 2 engine modes, and they will be turning that up to the quali mode when we get into the qualifying session in just a moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We will be heading into that one. Well, there's that the finishers last time out. Of course, what an epic finisher it was. Michi Hoya taking that victory. That is the underdog that I spoke of, winning by 0.06, I think it was, of a second. Tiny margin ahead of our world champion Yanni Simicic. Petar Beliak getting onto the podium courtesy of his teammate, Popular Engine. Back there, obviously the heat of Malaysia, a bit different as we come to Imola. They're just about to head out onto circuit. There is a few new names as well on the grid, but the championship order itself, obviously, sees Michi Hoya on top. It's the first time that he's won a Grand Prix in the World Championship. It's obviously the first time that he's led the World Championship as well, and a fantastic effort it was. He's got a lot of work though to do to go back to back here, but that has put Burst Simplexity not only to a 1-2 in the teams to a 1-2 in the team championship for Burst, but Burst Simplexity leading by almost double over Burst Briatore Esports, courtesy to Yele Simicic being the only one knocking up those 18 points for the second team. Is probably not the way they wanted it put, but yeah, no, incredible stuff. We've got a lot to play for here in San Marino, and I'm sure this one's going to be a great race.
Yeah, we can head to the qualifying session now as the drivers are just heading on their out laps, and we will jump on board with your championship leader, Michi Hoya, for this first lap. They have 10 minutes, but only 3 attempts for a lap, so they've got to make sure they get those in within the 10 minutes, but also make them count. As if you start making mistakes, especially around a track like this, you're really going to be punished and not get the time that you want.
Well, we saw how close it was in both Pro and Academy. Of course, it's a very short circuit, realistically, meaning that the gaps between them are very small. So every tenth, every tiny little bit that you can find is absolutely crucial. The DRS zone on this start-finish straight, by the way, is a lot later than you'd maybe anticipate. It's about halfway down. So quick through Tamburello for Michi Hoya. Definitely a man on form at the moment. It wasn't a luck thing, that victory in Malaysia.
Yeah, absolutely wasn't, because he actually qualified for the race All Stars race yesterday as well. Managed to get into the top 10 qualifiers that got into that event as well. So Michi's definitely on form, especially in these open wheels, as he comes into the 2020 season. And I really want to see how he can construct this series, because I believe this would have been the first time he's actually led the championship, at least in the World Championship. He did win the Ace Championship back in 2016, so he managed to put a campaign there. But in the World Championship, he hasn't had the best results so far.
No, he's put together the odd podium and stuff, but never a victory. And now looking strong, I wouldn't say it's out of the question to see potentially another victory at some point this season, whether it's this Grand Prix or another one. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we saw he missed quite a bit of the corner at Aqua Minerale, coming up towards the line, just around the next kink. We'll see what time he does. Currently, Luke Maguire, one of those new names on pole, goes to 9th position. Kind of expected that time wasn't going to be very good. It was a 13.1, so about 1.1 seconds off. It didn't look great. It was an okay benchmark. Of course, they only have 9 laps in this session, which realistically only translates to 3 timed laps. Luke Maguire, though, promoted into the World Championship. That's quite impressive. There's Sander Callis going to come to the line. What's he going to do?
Yeah, Callis had a bit of a quiet race in Malaysia, so hopefully he can get a bit of a better result today. And 7th isn't too bad just yet. We'll jump. Going to quickly jump with Jerne Simčić to see where he's gone, although he actually just finished his lap. The reigning world champion last time out just got pipped by his
Ooh.
teammate.
Savali's gone to the second position. Of course, the Englishman absolutely up at a completely normal time, not 4 o'clock in the morning in New Zealand. Doing a very good job there for Ghost Speed. Up to second position. Luca D'Amelio as well in that 5th position. I think Johan Kwekel was the one who moved up into 4th in that. It's actually a bit of a note. Was it Matt Williams had pole in the pro race, didn't he? It was by
He
a
did.
thousandth of a second.
Yes, that is how close it can get here. It is a very quick track, very high average speed, and it's certainly giving some close lap times in the Pro and Academy Championship, and it seems like it's doing the same here. But Petter goes to 8th position so far.
Mm.
And then someone...
Now,
keep going.
No.
I was going to say Thomas Vack. He actually got hit by Luca D'Amelio in Malaysia, but managed to get points. And going into WC this year was a bit of a jump for him. However, HM Engineering needed him to jump in there in the HM Engineering yellow car, which is because they partnered with Invictus Motorsport this season, which is why Invictus are not here. But you've got HM yellow, and he still did pretty good there, but 13th position for now.
Jim Paresis was one of the drivers that really impressed. Obviously, didn't get the finish that maybe he deserved, or he just overcooked Zambarello on the lap that he's currently on. A driver which completely came out of the order, currently in 3rd position. As we're watching Thomas Vack go around towards. Oh no, we're Luca D'Amelio now. Gotcha.
Yeah, I was going to say, Thomas Vack, he actually just went off there, and I just noticed at the same time, Luca has set a purple middle sector, 5th position at the moment. Can the Singularity driver get himself up potentially on the front row of the grid? There'll be an amazing result if he can do that. Just got one little kink to go to see where he can end up in 2nd position for Luca D'Amelio. That is an awesome job if he can keep it there.
Yeah, Singularity Ghost Speed. Luca D'Amelio, a driver sort of jumping about team to team at the moment, but doing an incredible job. I know it's Tom Savali as well. He's lost his rear wheels. So he's had a bit of an incident on his lap. Currently looking at Jim Paresis coming down the hill. He did he overcooked a couple of corners earlier in the lap, and now has completely made a hash of Tozer. Not Tozer. It's all right. I'll get there eventually. Alex Siebel. So don't question it. It's fine. Alex Siebel, though, did score a point, if I recall correctly, at Malaysia. Teammate, though, curious to where he's going to go, Dennis Jordan, currently in 5th position. But that's going to be a curious outfit because those two are two very talented drivers. Of course, we've only had one round to see their ability in this championship. So it's nice to see a second one. Potentially they can move themselves forward. Jerne Simčić, FSR World Champion presently. 2nd in the driver's standings, currently in 8th position in this qualifier. It's all looking a bit muddled up here, Cam, isn't it?
That is the that is the nature of this track. 2nd place for Jerne Simčić there, 400ths of a second behind Luke Maguire. Luke Maguire is really quick, especially in qualifying. Unfortunately, he had an incident in the Pro Series, but he did win in Malaysia in Pro. We now got Michi Hoyer coming to the line. Can he improve? Yes, 15th place, but that is still not. I think it was 4th position he qualified in Malaysia, so still got a little bit of a way to go before he gets there. Now on board with Stephen Michaels, got a couple of points in Malaysia as well. He's actually reserving for HM Engineering for this race again. 11th place for him at the moment.
Absolutely. I mean, you say about Michi Hoyer being down in 15th position. You're right. He qualified. I think it was 4th last time. Thing is, though, he's down in 15, 0.5 off the pole. So it's pretty tight. If he improves by 0.2 of a second, he moves up into 5th. It's tight.
It's a second for everyone to Robin Panzer in 19th, but it's only 0.6 to Thomas Vack in 16th, so it's very close. And I'm on board with the Winter Series champion, Janos Brakšok. Had a very quiet race in Malaysia. We really didn't talk about him at all. I think he managed to pick up 1 point for 10th place, but what can he do today? Looks like it's going to be 8th place at the moment. Don't think he actually improved on that lap.
Oh, Luke Maguire's come back out as well to try and set a time. Oh, who was that who just improved? It was Thomas Bach, who just improved by a decent margin, but only moved up a single position to 15th position, so gets himself ahead of Michi Hoyer. Janis Bradshaw, by the way, scored 2 points.
Oh, 2
Malaysia.
points.
2.
Oh, wow.
Very good.
Yeah.
Great. No, I mean he had a great haul through 2019 and of course through the Winter Series. Maybe he didn't start 2020 the way he wanted to, but possibly still could. Sander Callis.
With that curb on the outside really catches your front wheel and it hooks you on there, flat out on the entry of this corner as well. It's absolutely unbelievable how quick these cars are going. And even this chicane, you're going to see their Variante Outer, they're just going to absolutely monster the curbs. And they've obviously set up the dampers really well to be able to withstand the compression of that before coming down to the last 2 corners, which are so tight and very important, especially this last corner, because you kind of keep it half throttle all the way around before you work your way up to the line. It's a very long run. We could see another overtake to the start finish line as we saw last time out in Malaysia. Where does Callis put himself? 8th position for the NetRX driver.
Good lap, his final qualifier. That's his session absolutely done. And now we look back to David Morozchek, of course, did some good things in 2019 alongside his teammate. Obviously, they're not in the exact same team, but Robin Panzer, when they were at ACR Blue, moves up into 16th position. So maybe not the best qualifier, but obviously that is still very, very close to the pole. Nevertheless, at the moment, Luke Maguire on that pole time. Jone Simoncic is on, I believe, his final time at the moment. Whether it's a massive improvement or not is yet to be seen. It's decent in the... No, it's not. This is not a good lap. Lucas Di Melio has gone quick through the first sector, though, so that's
Di Melio purple in the second sector again. He was purple on his last lap. He's in 3rd position at the moment. Luca's absolutely on fire here today. Obviously, an Italian here himself. Although we are at the San Marino Grand Prix, Imola is technically there, and yeah, that's not going to be it for Luca, at least on this run.
You won't know, that's it. It's done. Session's done, isn't it? Jim Parisis was on a lap, goes up to 5th. Rowan Crakel moved up into 5th, then got passed by Parisis. Dennis Jordan moved up into 6th position. Tom Savary gets up into 4th. Michi Hoyer moves himself up into the top 10. That's a great time. Jordi's Vyers as well. The other Ghost Speed Singularity moves up into 11th position. I'm sure he'll be pretty satisfied with that qualifier, especially considering he said that he's been focusing on the race pace. But that ends the session with Luke Maguire on pole.
Yeah.
12-0. Good time.
He is a very, very quick driver, as we've seen over the years, especially in qualifying. As you can see, apart from Simoncic, he is about 1.5 quicker than anyone else. And we obviously know Simoncic is the world champion, so you'd expect that. But that is just how fast Luke Maguire can be on 1-lap pace. He did win the pro race in Malaysia, as we mentioned earlier, so he does have some race pace as well. However, we will have to see what he does. But while the drivers are in warm-up, we will just take a quick break and we'll get a little track guide from Michi Hoyer and then also Lewis McGlade as well. So we will see you in a couple of minutes.
This is Formula Sim Racing. My name is Michi Hoyer and welcome guys to today's edition of Track Walk for round 2 here at San Marino. We are at Imola, being the host for the FSR 2020 season round 2, and we are sitting in pit road here at the Autodrome Enzo Edino Ferrari di Imola. We're firing up the engine and coming out of the shadow of the pit garage to enter the sun, enter the pit road. And the first thing that comes to our eye is that pit road is extremely long, which means it will be a very important and key factor in the strategy to be used by the drivers for the upcoming race. Anyway, we're leaving this long pit road, which will be definitely a decider, and coming into turn 1 and 2, first chicane. The circuit has been rebuilt over the past years, making it a lot safer to hopefully not have any further crashes like we had with Ayrton Senna in this turn 3 we just went through in 1992. Then turn 4 and 5, the second chicane of the circuit, also built to make the circuit safer. And then we are already done with first sector. Into turn 6, a late apex hairpin where it's fairly important to go onto throttle early. Coming up the hill towards turn 7, left-hander mid-speed corner. Car wants to understeer a little bit as the exit falls off to the outside, and we're going over the hill, entering turn 9 and 10, called Acqua Minerali. Very technical part of the circuit, surely the most technical, difficult part of the circuit. Short sprint up to turn 11-12, that is called Variante Alta, before entering the back straight, second DRS zone, and longer sprint down towards Rivazza, turn 13 and 14. I think the second best overtaking opportunity here on the circuit. And then we're coming around for turn 14, second part of Rivazza, to speed up for our flying lap here around Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari di Imola. DRS wide open over the start finish line towards turn 1, hard braking zone, best overtaking spot on the circuit. Turn 2 and turn 3 easily flat out if you got the car balance right, if the weight transfer is fair with you. Turn 4, you coast into that, heavy braking for turn 5, don't want to go too far to the outside over the rattling curve. Into turn 6, wait for the late apex and then smash the throttle once again, not too wide over the rattling exit curve, as it may slow you down since the chassis bottoms out. Into turn 7 we go, flying over the rattling hill. Into turn 9 and 10, flat through 9, heavy braking into 10. Very important, hit both those apexes and have a good traction on the steep hill. Short sprint to turn 11-12, Variante Alta. Don't want to come too wide over the exit as I just did it. Also, car wants to oversteer there a little bit since the exit is bumpy. DRS on the back straight into Rivazza, second best overtaking opportunity as we already spoke about. And final turn, so important. You take all that exit speed, all that speed onto the long pit straight. DRS wide open, and then we wait for the line and across the line to finish one flying lap here around Imola. So you guys are encouraged to tune in Sunday 28th March 1400, 1630 and 1900 GMT, when drivers of ACA, Pro and World Championship fight for the win in their series classes.
Welcome to the Roy Designs track guide for the 2020 Formula Sim Racing World Championship. The first round of 10 comes from the hot and humid country of Malaysia at the Sepang International. Welcome to the Roy Designs track guide for the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari in northern Italy for the Formula Sim Racing San Marino Grand Prix. A short 4.9 km 17 turn circuit will be traversed 63 times over the course of the second round of the World Championship. A very raceable circuit, the slipstream will be in high demand over that start-finish straight, and fuel strategy for a final dash to the line will be crucial. A track that has plenty of overtaking opportunities across that 4.9 km run. Of course, we open that with the Tamburello chicane. Plenty of chances there, inside outside, works perfectly. Of course, the massive slipstream on that start-finish straight as we head towards Variante Villeneuve and then into Tosa. Getting a good run through there into Tosa is going to be absolutely crucial for an overtaking move. Then we head up the hill towards Piratella. Back down the hill towards my favourite corner on this circuit, Acqua Minerale, this double right-hander up to a left, back up the hill, onto a straight. Get that wrong though and you are vulnerable into Variante Alta, which is going to be a great overtaking opportunity. Very slow speed, slowest speed chicane on the entire circuit. Flick it through there, head down the hill, make sure you didn't hit the curbs too hard because that will compromise your run down towards Rivazza. Those final two corners are going to be absolutely crucial come the final point in that race. And how many times in the World Championship have we seen it come down to the final corner? That's the circuit, and now it's time for the San Marino Grand Prix. Well, welcome back then. It is indeed time. We are about ready to go racing, and what a fantastic race this is going to be. Luke Maguire on that pole, Jane Simoncic on that front row. Cam, what can we expect from this front row?
I think it's going to be very interesting as well, considering Luke Maguire, he is a reserve driver, so while the team obviously want the points, he personally has nothing to lose. He might as well go out there, give it everything, see if he can win a World Championship race. He's done a couple of races in the past, I remember, but he hasn't won a race in the World Championship. So that is certainly something he can do alongside Jene Simčić, who will obviously know this. He'll understand that, and he will know what he is fighting against, and he will have to be potentially a little bit more cautious with how he approaches the race.
Indeed, and of course, with so few rounds on the table this year, we've only got a 10-round championship for the likes of Jene Simčić, who are going for a world championship. Every point is so very, very crucial because there's so few times to come back from that. A 63-lap Grand Prix then, as we are about ready to go. That front row is going to be incredible, but of course you cannot forget all the drivers behind the likes of Luca Di Meglio and Tom Savali on that second row. It is a very mixed up grid. We're used to seeing a lot of ACRs, or in this season, not the same team. I'm not going there, but Burst Esports, of course. Like to see those at the front, but unfortunately, a bit further down the grid, we've got a bit of bad news, I'm afraid. As I'm sure a lot of you are aware, Formula Sim Racing as a community, we lost one of our own, Alessio Campos, tragically passed away throughout last week. A strong member of the community over the last few years, one that's received a great deal of respect from his competitors and his colleagues. And so from everyone here at FSR, our thoughts go out to his friend and families, and we'll have a minute's silence in his honour as we focus on one of the NetRex cars. Very unfortunate news indeed. Alessio Campos, we race for you indeed. A tragic bit of news, but we do have some racing to focus on, and hopefully we can do Alessio Campos proud. So, flicking through the grid then, let's have a little read through. Luke Maguire then on that pole position. Jene Simčić directly behind. Luca Di Meglio and Tom Savali rounding out the top four. Then from fifth position, a lot better than he did a few weeks ago, Jim Paresis in fifth, ahead of Dennis Jordan. Jeroen Krekel, who will be a very interesting candidate to come up through the field. And then our championship leader and last race winner, Michi Hoyer. Sander Callas, P9, Janis Brakshock in P10. See how those come to the order. Jordi Zviers as well in that 11th position. He'll be a curious one. He's looking to maybe get himself a top 10 and get some points on the board this season. Jos Araneda in 12th position, heading Stephen Michaels, Alex Siebel, Petter Berliak, a lot lower down the order than maybe we'd expect. Of course, podium last time out. Danny van der Neet, Thomas Vack, David Marocek and Robin Panzer rounding out those that are going to be starting on the grid. Karjovic is going to be starting from the pit lane due to a late sign-up, a late RSVP. But Cam, what's going to happen?
Well, I don't know. That is the good thing. That is what we're here to look. This first braking zone, turn 2, is very tight. You have to remember that. So there might be some carnage going down there. The last cars are just gridding up. We've got 20 of them today. Karjovic, as you say, starting from the pit lane. So only 19 on the grid. And let's see what they can do here in Imola for 63 laps.
Noting that Jene Simčić is very far up in his box. Luke Maguire, not so much. He could have used a bit more room, at least as far as from what I can see, preparing to go racing, waiting for someone to get in line. It's Sander Callas in 9th position, who just moves into his grid spot. I think now we will be good to go. Maybe. Oh, the tension is very much building. Luke Maguire on that pole position, then Jene Simčić alongside your world champion from last year, second in the championship presently. We are ready to go racing here at the San Marino Grand Prix, and Luke Maguire is away from pole position, but Jene Simčić has definitely had a better launch. Oh, but look at that in the background. Michi Hoyer is absolutely cleared off. Nearly trying to get his way up the order, but it is clear. The whole shot for Luke Maguire. Jene Simčić behind Luca Di Meglio, leading Tom Savali. Jeroen Krekel, who's moved up to 5th position from Dennis Jordan. Jim Paresis moved moving back a few positions. Michi Hoyer hasn't actually made any progress as they head through up towards Tozer for the very first time. Luke Maguire has run away with us to a second lead in only 4 corners. Incredible stuff. Yerni Simic now being hounded by Luca D'Amelio for Singularity Go Speed. Tom Satherley, one of his sister teammates, directly behind as well. Oh, it's very tight. That was actually a very clean launch.
Yeah, that was amazing considering we were just saying how tight turn 2 is, and I'm pretty sure they all got through there fairly cleanly. So that is really good to see. The drivers obviously taking it very good, and these are obviously the World Championship drivers, so we expect them to have the best racecraft and things like that as well. But yeah, Luke Maguire, 1.7 seconds as we come out of Sector 2 down the hill as well. So he is really pushing off.
Yeah, coming down to rFactor for the first time to end that first of 63 laps this afternoon. It's now 1.5 seconds. Like you say, Yerni Simic dropping back, maybe being a bit more patient on his tyres. Of course, that's one thing that we know about Yerni Simic, is his patience in this category is almost unrivaled. He is very aware as to what he is doing and how to basically bring the car to the end of the race in its best possible conditions. So if I was Luke Maguire, I wouldn't exactly be comfortable at the moment, but we know when he's put the laps in, which he very clearly has, incredibly quick driver, of course, competitive, but still. GPWC Super League won the first race of that season after a lot of practice, so showing again how incredible his form is. Coming here and fighting these guys, oh, he is doing a very good job. 2 seconds now.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. We have said he is such a fast driver. Unfortunately, he's rarely had those moments where he's just absolutely put a race together. But maybe today is the day for the Irishman.
Absolutely. Well, I think we'll see things calm down now through this first stint. It's normally how it goes. Everything sort of calms down. Everyone thinks, oh, well, I can save a bit of fuel here. I can do this. I can do that. Luca D'Amelio, I think, might try and go for a move to get by Yerni Simic. I don't think Yerni Simic would fight it particularly difficult, particularly hard at this point. Jim Paris is now down in 7th position. Dropped a couple of positions on that start. Jeroen Krekel and Dennis Jordan getting by. I don't think he'll be too disappointed. Of course, he came up the order massively at Malaysia. I think more akin to the alternate strategy. By the way, his teammates on that alternate strategy has got up into 13th position at the moment.
Yep, like 13th place, not quite where he would have potentially wanted at the moment. We just see just behind them David Mocek getting past Danny Van Den Eek for 13th place. So yeah, Mocek and Burlak, they got, was it 4th and 6th in Malaysia. So that just shows you how much one race can turn this order upside down, and it's certainly looking a bit different here as well, because as we said earlier, Luca D'Amelio up in 3rd place. That is the highest he's ever ran in the World Championship.
Yeah, I just saw Danny Van Den Eek going a little bit wide there at Variante Villeneuve. Just overcooked it a little bit, sat on the back of David Mocek and maybe picked up a bit too much understeer. Ooh, a bit of lag there as well for Jos Araneda. Up ahead, you've got Janis Brakshock trying to find his way by Sander Callas, and if they fight too hard, Jos Araneda just had another slowdown.
Yeah, Jos had from what I understand anyway, had a bit of a difficult pre-season. As such, they weren't sure if they were going to be racing. Ground Effects joined very late, literally the day before the Malaysian Grand Prix, so I don't know how much prep they've actually had, but 11th place is a lot better than where he was in Malaysia, and he certainly seems to be a bit further on the pace this weekend.
Yeah, it just seems, I think, maybe having some computer issues. Oh, Janis Brakshock all the way around the outside of Sander Callas there for 9th position. Easy as you like. Luca D'Amelio, by the way, sorry, missed that. The DRS obviously opened that lap. Did say he wouldn't fight it. Luca D'Amelio up into 2nd position ahead of Yerni Simic. Whether Tom Savali will get by, of course, look at the guy that's in 5th position as well. We saw how aggressive he was last round. Jeroen Krekel, I'm sure there were some questions passed as to his racecraft last time. There was a little bit of aggression coming from him, and I'm sure he'll come into this maybe thinking, well, maybe some people are scared of me. Maybe I can push a little bit harder. Jeroen Krekel now in that 5th position. I'd say if I'm Tom Savali, I'm looking backwards thinking, oh, my. When are you going to go for a move?
Yeah, and one thing as well is if any of you saw Jeroen's personal highlights video, he said that he went into season with no sort of mindset as to what he was going to be like. But that race in Malaysia really fired him up and realised he can have a really good season, just like he did back in 2016 when he won the FSR World Championship. And sitting 5th place is absolutely fine for now. He can see the leaders. Well, at least D'Amelio, because Luca's got quite a big lead. But he's in a pretty good position now, and he can just sit there and plan what he's going to do.
Well, over that lap, Luke McGuire had 3 seconds. It's now come down to 2.6. So I don't think that means too much at the moment. I'm not trying to scare any Luke McGuire fans. I think that's more Luke McGuire's going, okay, I've got this big lead. Let's do this Formula E style, right? Let's not try and win by a country mile. Let's bring it back a bit. Let's try and win. Like, let's control things. Because the thing is, it's all well and good to run off into the distance, but sometimes if you're doing that, you're pushing the car way too hard. And that's where things can go very, very wrong, which we've seen countless times across many different championships.
And there's one thing to talk about. At this track, it seems that a one-stop might be possible. And we all know the man to try them is Jernej Simoncic. So if that is the case, and Luke is going to do a 2-stop, which you would expect, because that is what he was looking to do in Pro, and this race is obviously longer, in which case, if Jernej can keep within a pit stop distance of Luke McGuire, this could get quite spicy towards the end of the race when the strategy all comes together.
Yeah, I'd kind of almost be a bit surprised if Jernej Simoncic wasn't trying to do a one-stop race. You look at the background, Tom Savely's picked up the slipstream, picked up the DRS, now going to try and go to the outside. Ooh, not quite close enough to commit, but did think about going to grab the podium and stick in effectively 2 ghost speeds on the podium. Not quite yet. Dennis Jordan as well. That's another driver, by the way, that I'd like to assume could be going for a one-stop strategy. Of course, himself. They work. Jernej Simoncic work in World Endurance Championship to good effect. Tyre management, etc., etc. Very, very crucial in that. He is a very smart driver. Is Dennis Jordan. We didn't see what he could have pulled off in Malaysia, but I was very, very curious. That was the big question mark in Malaysia. Was what could Dennis Jordan have done in that scenario, because he is one who's mighty on tyres, mighty on strategy. Of course, a disconnection. I think it's just over a quarter, under halfway through the race. It was very, very early.
Yeah.
We never really saw what he could do.
Yeah, it is a shame, because Dennis Jordan is one of those drivers. He always likes to play the long game, so he always comes into effect later on in the race. But we just didn't get to see that in Malaysia, unfortunately. But he's sitting in a good position now. And it's interesting to see that no one is really being overly aggressive at this stage. They're all just keeping it nice and calm, not going too hard with Quico. They're just having a look at Satherley. So he's thinking about it, but not quite on this occasion.
Oh, Tom Satherley got Tamburello a bit wrong. Kvekel was now very close going into Variante Villeneuve, not quite close enough. Thing is, if you mess up through Tamburello, you can normally score, because Villeneuve's not really the best overtaking opportunity, but if you mess up Villeneuve, it opens you up at Tozer. So it's kind of like making your mistakes at the right time. I think Tom Savely chose very well where to make a mistake there. Just hanging on to 4th position and still eyeing up the back of Jernej Simoncic, not quite able to get as close to him as he did a few laps ago. At this point, I'd be assuming Jernej Simoncic is pushing hard enough to keep within DRS, but no harder than that.
And it's good to see that the Ghost Speed cars are doing a bit better, because they did have a slightly disappointing Malaysia, considering they were really the team to challenge ACR last season. So it's good to see them back up at the front. And once again, we got a couple of different cars at the front. The first 6, or was it 7? Yes, 8 cars.
Yeah,
8 cars are all in different teams. I just kept on looking down. They kept on all being different cars. Yeah, the first 8 cars on the racetrack are 8 different teams. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's always good to see. Of course, we're used to in 2019 seeing the ACR and ACR Blue. Of course, not a team in this season. Burst are the team that have effectively taken that position. Not the same team, different team. They do have a lot of the same drivers, but everything higher up than the drivers completely different at Burst. And obviously taking those drivers work so well together, and we are seeing why that outfit was so very strong. It wasn't because of who was up top, it's because of those drivers and how good they are. But it is nice to see that split, seeing lots of different colours up towards the top, and it's not just one team. And then maybe a Ghost Speed or an Edge slotting their way in there.
And especially one that is a bit of a favourite of a lot of people is this Singularity car. The Ghost Speed Singularity car is a very good looking one indeed. So it's good to have it up the front. Although just behind that is Tom Sadley is now starting to have a look at Yerny Simicic. So I do wonder if they're going to plan an overtake, because the second they start overtaking is where you start to lose time, and then Luca will start to get a massive gap ahead of him.
Look a couple of positions back as well. Jim Paris is. Oh no, I think he might be lifting out a little bit. Oh, Jim Paris was looking at Dennis Jordan.
Down the inside. Yerny Simicic dived it down the inside there of Luca D'Amelio. We were just talking about sadly overtaking Simicic, but instead Simicic went on the offensive and overtook Luca D'Amelio. Now they're all battling behind. I think that was Dennis Jordan just having to defend from Jim Paris. So quite a lot of action happening. I wonder if the tensions are just building and people are starting to get a tiny bit impatient.
Yeah, that were probably the most aggressive move that I've seen from Yerny Simicic in years. Absolutely flew it down the inside of Luca D'Amelio. The thing is, Luca D'Amelio was an absolute sitting duck without the DRS, because slipstream in these cars is bad enough on its own. Then you stick some DRS involved with that, and you've got a mighty overtaking package there. The thing is, though, is obviously where Luca D'Amelio got passed by Yerny Simicic. Yerny Simicic is probably about to have the same fate bestowed upon him when Luca D'Amelio tries to fly it down the inside. Luke Maguire and all this has cleared off by 4 and a bit seconds, so maybe battling not the best idea, because I think Luca D'Amelio was actually was closing down that gap to Luke Maguire. It was sort of about 2.9, went down to 2.6, hovered around there. Now it's up to 4.3. Oh, no, actually, he's just gone, okay, bye, I'm going now. Or Johan Quakel looking down the inside for Tom Savali, not quite getting by.
Yeah, they're all getting close. They are all getting close, and this is when you can trip on each other's toes, and you can brake a tiny bit too late, and then you might make a bit of a mistake and hit someone as well. So that is what they're all balancing at the moment. And so, just talking about the top 8 being 8 different teams, just being told the top 11 has all 10 teams in it, which is just amazing to see.
Absolutely, that's a nice change to the colour palette. Of course, your Serenade are the last of those in 11th position for ground effect, which means the only team that has 2 drivers inside that top 11 has both their cars together is Ghostspeed, with Tom Savali in 4th and Yanis Brackshop in 9th.
And I would not have thought that we would have been saying that after just what you would have assumed anyway. But yeah, these guys are all getting close. Mitch Hoy now in 8th position, really getting close to Precis as well. So it's that situation where you have to think about attacking to defend so that you don't get overtaken.
Absolutely. Luca D'Amelio is again closing in on our second place man, Yerny Simicic, but not quite close enough that time. By you kind of get the feeling. So this is to those of you sat at home, not normally watching FSR, the World Championship. Normally, what happens is we have the top lot, and they all kind of sit in a line for a bit. Some people overtake, some people, oh yeah, I'll get on the inside. But they both sit in the line. They look after their tyres. They most importantly, though, they save fuel, so they can attack, because obviously we've got multiple mix modes that adjust your fuel usage. Of course, engine wear as well is a bit of a part of that. But I'm sure we'll see maybe 1 or 2 go pop. Hopefully, it's not Jim Paris this time. But they save at this point in the race so they can attack later. And the difference with this, though, is that Luke Maguire, normally that's for the lead. Luke Maguire's already gone, though. So how they play that is a bit of a mystery to me.
He's not listening to the script, that is for sure. It went up to almost 5 seconds earlier on in this lap, but they've just sort of caught him up a little bit as well. And I do wonder when he's going to pit, because he pit, I want to say like lap 13 in the pro race, and we are already coming on to start lap 11.
Yeah, the thing is, if he's going to go on to a 2-stop strategy, he's going to be very vulnerable. Luca D'Amelio's pulled out and then lifting off, I think, to let Tom Savali through. He is indeed.
Quakel's going to go.
Quakel's going to go down the inside. There's going to be contact between the two. Just a little bit of contact. Luca D'Amelio now goes off the road, drops in behind Dennis Jordan. Jim Paris allows him to hold position at the moment. We're going to try and stick around the outside of Variante Villeneuve. Backs out of it, holds 7th position. Luca D'Amelio demoted down to 6th position after trying to let his teammate through for 3rd. Your own Quakel very aggressively down the inside. I don't think it was too much.
No, that
It was close.
yeah, that looked fine, but that is how not to do team orders.
Team redressing. No.
That has to be said because unfortunately Luca has lost what's that 3 positions rather than just the 1, so he will have to try and make those up. But that is the exact what Quico did there was absolutely perfect. He saw the opportunity, he took it, and he made it work. And that is how you get yourself into good positions. Because for basically braking a bit later into turn 2, he has got himself in a much better position for the second half of this first stint.
Absolutely. I'm sure Dennis Lind will be shaking his fist at the screen. I actually don't know how much he has to do with, of course, Singularity Go Speed, but I'm sure he's paying a little bit of attention. Nevertheless, though, Yone Simic and all of that has cleared off and now is closing in on Luke Maguire. I wonder if Luke Maguire has done his tyres in a bit and Yone Simic has decided now's the time to go.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. Simic last lap 17.0. Luke Maguire last lap 17.9. Almost a second Simic has taken out of him. And we've seen this so many times, haven't we? Simic, he's very calm in the first part of the stint. Then just before his pit stop, he just goes and does the good old hammer time and pulls that gap away. And now that he is clear of the threat from Luca Di Melo and such, he has got his sights on Luke Maguire and he's going to try and close that gap down so he's a lot closer when they actually make their pit stops.
Yeah, of course, just to make note of how important those lap times were that you read. Luke Maguire, his lap time was not only a second slower than Yone Simic, but it was 8/10 slower than his personal best of the race. Meanwhile, Yone Simic just set his personal best of the race. That is how impressive Yone Simic's time is at this point. I think Luke Maguire will see him respond a little bit. His lap time this time seems a lot more healthy, but I think Yone Simic just maybe... that was a bit of a warning shot, being like, this is what I can do, mate. I've still got plenty in my tyres. Across the line this time, what is Luke Maguire going to do? His lap time, a 17.7. Yone Simic did a 17.5. Still took a couple of tenths out, but nothing too major.
Yeah,
Very
obviously that was Simic just doing a push lap to test the waters, and obviously it did help the situation that Luke actually did a slow lap, so it made it look a little bit more aggressive. But that was obviously Simic just having a lap where he felt like, oh yeah, I'm going to push, tyres are still feeling good as we head on to lap 14. Now, if you want to do a one-stop strategy, we know the hard tyres can go pretty far. We saw in the pro race, people did 20 laps on the soft tyres. Obviously, these guys have a little bit more fuel, but they also have to go further. This is a 63 lap race. The pro race was only 50 laps. So we have to see where they balance that out. But I would assume somewhere around lap 20, these guys might come in for a pit stop for those hard compound tyres.
Absolutely. It's just waiting for that right time to open up the strategy book. 13 laps into the race, about to complete the 14th. Luke Maguire is going to stay out, so not pitting this early. Looking back at Tom Satherley, who's right on the back of Yone Simic. He's looked pretty impressive on speed. We spoke about how impressive his speed was back in Germany. Didn't really make too much of that race, but here he is. He's going to go for second position. Whoa, onto the grass. Oh, that was very close. Jim Paresis, by the way, has got up into 6th position ahead of Luca Di Melo now. That was bizarre. Now he's going to try and go around the outside of Variante Villeneuve. I don't think that one's going to work. Now Yone Simic is going to hang on to second position. This is just costing them all time at the moment.
Yeah, this is just costing time. Quico's going to get really close behind them, and we know how aggressive and how good on the brakes he can be. And all this is doing, again, is just letting Maguire get those few extra tenths away, because every time these guys go offline or they try to outbrake each other, they miss an apex, they're just losing further time to Maguire. So this is not really helping the overall strategy. But then, as we said earlier, Luke Maguire's got nothing to lose. He's not in the championship hunt, so he can just go off, and these guys might not be so worried about him in terms of the championship, but obviously they still want to win the race and get the full 25 points.
Absolutely. Just a bit of a note, the last time he raced around Imola was in 2014, so a fair while ago. That race was won by Martin Godsby, who's not racing today, ahead of Bonahuis. That was won by 0.4 of a second. So another tight finish. We could see the same here.
Sadly, he's going to get him here. I think sadly he's going to get him here. He's a lot closer than he was last lap, but he's going to have to go round the outside into turn 2. That's a really difficult move, but he's managed to make it work. He had the overspeed, and now Quico is going to be all over the back of Simic. But I think Simic actually got a good enough exit there to defend that for now anyway.
Yeah, Simoncic didn't really fight that. Broke nice and early. Allowed Tom Savley to take the position. Thought, oh, I'll defend it, but if you're still going to go for it, mate, you fill your boots. Now we saw Yene Simoncic, Jeroen Kwekel, of course, 2 previous champions. Of course, Yene Simoncic is our defending champion. Jeroen Kwekel won it a few years ago, and of course the other world champion on the field up into 12th position, Petr Berliak, a world champion a good few years ago. Those are our 3 world champions, so 2 of them on the track at the moment, about to do battle.
It's good to see all these drivers pushing hard, even though they're obviously in a stage of the race where, as we said, they're potentially conserving a little bit, but they're still going ultra aggressive when the opportunities come. And Luca D'Amelio has dropped down to 7th. Oh, is he pitting?
He is pitting. Luke Maguire into the pit lane. First of our stops, Luca D'Amelio as well, joining him in the pit lane. So 2 early stops at the end of lap 16. The pair coming into the pit lane to take some tyres. Luke Maguire is going to go on to the hard tyres, and Luca D'Amelio goes on to the mediums.
Yeah, that is a very obvious choice for Luca Maguire, I'd have to be said, because even if he's making a 2-stop, it'd be good to go on those soft compound tyres at the end of the race, and he has just come out ahead of Stephen Michaels, and I assume Steve hasn't stopped yet. No, he hasn't. No. So, so Luca's got all this space now to push into and to use. Actually, this could be quite good for him because he's got such a clear track now that he might be able to get a bit of an undercut here.
Well, we'll see. Depends on when these guys pit as to how potent that undercut's going to be. You'd assume still that Yene Simoncic and the like are going to go a lot further into this race. Tom Savley, bearing in mind, obviously, because I don't know how much those 2 teams work together. Of course, Go Speed and Go Speed Singularity, how much those 2 teams actually partner up and really work together. He's Sadly. Whoa, he's going to just hang on to the lead, but not by much. And he's definitely going to be open to an overtake. Could Jeroen Kwekel be going for the double, though? As here comes Yene Simoncic, now gets that move done. Here comes Jeroen Kwekel, though. Here he goes. Oh, there's a bit of contact between the 2. That was poorly judged from Jeroen Kwekel. Now going to try and stick it around the outside of the first chicane. Tamburello, no way can he go around the outside there. That was not very well judged from Jeroen Kwekel.
Yeah, he saw the opportunity but couldn't quite make that work. But that is really difficult to judge because obviously Tom Sadley is having to defend from 2 cars there. You didn't know exactly where each person was going to go. But yes, another overtake for this, effective leader of the race because Luke Maguire has absolutely gone off. And it's getting very tight and the tension is certainly building. And little mistakes like that is what could cause an accident and one of these drivers to DNF from this race.
That could have been a monster crash. I think Jeroen Kwekel, as Tom Savley was coming back across to basically say, go on, get over that side of the race. Get over that side of the track, mate. Jeroen Kwekel went, oh, you're leaving that door open then? A bit of contact. Nearly a massive crash because I don't actually know what that's actually what went through his mind. I'm just saying that's what it looks like. Jeroen Kwekel, though, escaped a monster crash. Nevertheless, here we go. We get to do it again. No one pitting from this top lot. Yene Simoncic is going to head across the line to finish the 18th lap of this Grand Prix in the race lead. Tom Savley taking over from that. We'll see who's pitted in just a moment. No one changing at the moment. Thomas Vack comes into the pit lane. Did something happen a bit further down the field? I saw people moving about. Sorry.
It does say that Jos Araneda went off the track. He's now down to 14th position, unfortunately for him. I actually might see if I can get a quick replay of that to see what happened to the Chilean driver. He's in the final corner, and I think, did he do similar to what Tom Sadley did? Oh no, he span out of the... Yeah, he copied what I did in the pro race. Span out of that final corner. And that is him down to 14th position.
Did it a lot better than you, mind. He didn't hit the barrier and lose his front wing.
Yeah, he did very well, but that is going to mean he's going to have some huge flat spots. But fortunately, we're actually towards the end of this first stint, so that shouldn't be too bad actually for him. Although he might have to pit a lap or so earlier.
Well, we'll wait and see. Heading up to the start-finish line once again. Yene Simoncic seems to have a decent lead. Tom Savley is going to come into the pit lane. You're absolutely right. Dennis Jordan. Oh, I thought he was a bit closer, actually. But he still might be thinking of a move on Jeroen Kwekel, who does still have DRS. But Dennis Jordan playing the long game, moving his way up, now on to the provisional podium. Mind, but up into third position, courtesy of everyone else's pit stop. Sander Callis, Jos Araneda, all coming into the pit lane as well.
So let's see where Tom sadly comes out with regard to Luke Maguire. Oh, Luke Maguire's gone. Luke Maguire's miles ahead of Tom sadly. So that undercut has worked an absolute treat. And I think once this all works out, Maguire's going to have a huge lead of this race. And D'Amelio has got back ahead of Sadley as well. So it seems like the undercut here is very, very powerful.
Yeah, I think so. But this is the thing, is that obviously Luke Maguire is now going to have a monster lead. But Yannick Simoncic in that light, probably going for a one-stop at the moment. Tom Sadley, it's too early for a one-stop. But the others, potentially going for a one-stop. At which point, it's maybe not quite as strong. He's 18 seconds off of the race lead at the moment, which you would argue is probably not not within firing range of beating a one-stop with a two-stop. But of course, we'll wait and see how that one unfolds. We're looking at Dennis Jordan now. Is anyone going to come into the pit lane? Your own Quakel does come in the pit lane. So there we go. Or as does Jim Paresis.
Yeah, I wouldn't say... I think this is the absolute limit. Like 42, 43 laps is probably the absolute limit for the hard tyres. With regard to still having good pace at the end of the race. So that is something we'll have to look out for, is these drivers who pit first. Paresis, medium tyres. So that is definitely a two-stop for Paresis. There's no way those mediums are going to go to the end of the race. But Quaker went on the hards. So we'll have to see how that one works itself out. But I'm still not ruling out any of these drivers from... doing a one-stop, but sadly just behind, he's trying to overtake Robin Panzar, but he got a bit caught out by Paresis, who was coming out of the pit lane, couldn't make it work. But Queequel has also got quite a bit ahead of Sadley, who's stuck behind Panzar. Panzar not quite on the pace today, hasn't made a pit stop yet, and he's defending quite hard for Sadley as well. So Sadley's just losing tons of time here. This has not worked out well at all, especially if you look at where Luca D'Amelio is. He's quite a bit up the road as well.
Yeah, absolutely running away whilst Tom Sadley, and this will affect Jim Paresis in the same way. Oh, going to try and go around the outside of Aqua Minerale. That's not a very good idea. Great corner, not the best overtaking opportunity.
No way is that possible. But this is going to leave him open to Jim Paresis behind, who also sadly is on the medium compound tyres. I don't think we just mentioned that. So that means sadly is also doing a two-stop strategy. So there's definitely... what have you seen?
Janus Bradshaw, by the way, is coming to the pit lane. Just wanted to note that. Teammate of Tom Savvy trying to stick around the outsider of that, so that one's not really going to work. He's going to have to wait for the DRS zone.
Is Panzar... Okay, of course Panzar's not putting, actually. He's on the hard combat tyres, so sadly he's going to have to do this on the track. He's going to have to overtake him. Is he going to get his nose down what will effectively be the inside for turn number 2? Yes, he can.
Bradshaws ahead.
Wow, Bradshaws ahead. That is how much time sadly is lost. And Bradshaw is on the hard tyres, which means he's probably attempting a one-stop as well. So sadly, this could be a really bad strategy call from Sadly, I have to say, with how it's played out.
Yeah, I don't think he was given the information that he was going to come out behind Robin Panzar. Should have left it another lap and potentially jumped Panzar. Same with Jim Paresis. So he's going to try and get around the inside. Oh, it's going to be late on the brakes, surely. But no, not quite yet. Piratella, another tick. That one's done. Not an overtaking opportunity. We'll tick off the ones that aren't an overtaking opportunity, and we'll look down those, yeah?
And the craziest thing is, if you look at Sadley here, where he is, and now let's go to where Luke Maguire is, coming into the final corner. That is how big a gap Luke Maguire has got, and he is only about 18 seconds off the lead, if I'm not mistaken. So with a pit stop being about 25, 26 seconds, he's going to have a really nice lead.
Indeed, Luke Maguire's pace at the moment was a 17.0. Race leader's pace was a 17.1. So he's, I think he's looking after these tyres a little bit, maybe to go for a little bit of a push later on in the stint. Currently looking at Jim Paresis, is going to try and get down the inside or outside. Outside it is of Robin Panzar. That burst seems pretty quick in a straight line, but that's that one done. Tick. So he can now look at the strategy game, but look at how far Tom Savely's gone down the road. Already 2 and a bit seconds. One person I will note in the sort of top 5, Petr Beliak, 4.8 seconds off the lead. Obviously started a lot further down the order on the alternate strategy. Currently running on the hard tyres as he has done from the start of the race. Previous lap time, a personal best of 17.3, so still setting some healthy lap times, of course, as you would expect from those tyres. My point is, even in comparison to Luke McGuire, those are healthy lap times.
Yeah, and he's obviously started on those.
Mitchie.
Is that Mitchie Hoyer going to pit?
Yeah, Mitchie in the pits.
So Belek started on those tyres, which means he's going to go super long into the race. And he's going to be very quick at the end of the race because he'll be either on the softs or the mediums, whereas everyone else will be on old, hard tyres or older, medium tyres. So he's going to be very quick at the end of the race. So he's certainly one to look out for. And how many times has he done this where he's dropped back a little bit in the race or just in, like here, started further back, but he still ends up making it towards the front of the field. So do not count out Peter Belek just yet once this has all worked itself out. And we've now got Johan Kwiku, I think actually just being overtaken there by Luca Di Melo, I believe. So Luca making back some time that he lost earlier when he gave, or tried to at least give the position to his sister teammate Tom Sadley.
Yeah, sadly, he's now all over the back of Mitchie Hoyer as he's got by Janis Brakshock as well. So he's passed his teammate. I don't think that was a particularly harsh fight between the pair of those two Go Speed drivers. Now on the back of Mitchie Hoyer, who's fresh out of the pit lane on some brand new hard tyres. Mediums for Tom Sadley, those yellow wall tyres, the mediums, white walls being the hards, and reds being the soft compound tyre. Not able to try and think. He was having a look into Villeneuve, but decided best not. But now searching for a way by the Malaysian Grand Prix race winner.
So tell me this. How far Simoncic and Jordan are going into this race? Do you think they're going to one stop with the medium tyres? I don't know what benefit that would necessarily have, because surely it'd be better to go on the hards and push, as we saw in Malaysia. But if they go to the mediums, that could give them some sort of advantage. But they are going very long. We are now on to lap 25, and they are still out leading this Grand Prix.
Indeed, Johan Kwiku, by the way, has got by Stephen Michaels. Tom Savley isn't able to get by Mitchie Hoyer. I'd say on that point, what you're suggesting there, maybe, if not, what it does though is it does give you, if you go onto the hard tyres, you know, if you're going as far into these soft as you can, then you're on the hard tyres. It just gives you that sort of little bit extra percentage window to push a little bit more, to not worry about the percentage so much. It's just like, let's just push, let's just do this, let's do that. So it's giving you a bit bigger window to sort of play with. They're currently looking at Alex Siebel, who's circulating way up into fourth position, courtesy of not stopping. Of course, he's also on the hard compound tyre, as is Petr Beliak.
And he's
those two, top two in the pit lane. There we go.
Yeah,
Simoncic and Jordan.
Sounds about right, doesn't it? About sort of 25 laps on the soft tyres. You don't think it would be beneficial to stay out too much longer. But let's see what they go on to. I would expect the hard tyres, which
Hards.
Dennis has done, and Yerne as well. So yeah, this pretty much means they're going to be doing a one-stop strategy. So that is one thing we need to look out for, because obviously there are a couple of two-stoppers about as well. And that will work itself out later on. What have you seen?
D'Amelio, Kwiku have got by Yane Simoncic and all that. I kind of expected with the undercut.
Sadly getting past Hoyer in the background as well.
Indeed.
But as we said, sadly he's got to do another pit stop. There's no way those mediums are going that long. So he's got to get through this traffic as quickly as possible. And Mitchie Hoyer is another person ticked off that list.
Absolutely. The thing is, like you're saying about those one-stops and two-stoppers, of the ones that have stopped, you've got Luke McGuire currently leading that group, and he will cycle out to the race lead at some point soon, we would expect. Luca D'Amelio, your own Kwiku, Stephen Michaels yet to stop. Yane Simoncic, who's just coming up to the back of Stephen Michaels, we would suspect is doing a one-stop based on how long he went on those softs and the fact it's on hards, which means that at the moment Luke McGuire's 10 seconds down the road. So at the moment, Yane Simoncic is in. In the long run, is in the race lead.
Yeah, this is almost. Yeah, it's almost half a pit stop, and we're almost halfway through the race. So if he does need to make an extra pit stop time, which is about 25 seconds, he's getting towards that. But when he makes his second pit stop, he's going to be behind these guys, and he's going to need to overtake them. Although Simoncic here, I think, is going to be getting past Michaels. So that is another car off his list. So that he's going to have a couple of seconds gap to catch up to Kwiku. And he can push on these brand new hard tyres.
Yeah, so that when Dennis Jordan gets by as well on Stephen Michaels, staring at the back. Of course, those two will be going potentially to the end of the race from this point. Now Tom Satherley is all over the back of Dennis Jordan as well. So he's thinking, I've got to get on with this, boys. So potentially, could you get out of my way? Michi Hoyer, not too far behind. I'd actually be surprised. I think Michi Hoyer will be doing a one-stop as well.
I would expect so, considering he did the same strategy as Simoncic in Malaysia.
He was on harder tyres in Malaysia, though, wasn't he?
No, they both did hard.
Whoa!
Who's that?
Tom Satherley, big moment out of whoa, Aqua Minerale coming up the hill, right behind Dennis Jordan, trying to get on the power a bit too much, and did the old slippy slide across the road. Very close. Good hands from the Englishman.
Well, yes, as we know, he's not actually English. He's a Kiwi. So it is, I believe, 20 to 9 in the morning on Monday morning, because obviously ahead of the European time zone that FSR is based around. So he's waking up early on a Monday morning, although just ahead of him is that Dennis Jordan making a move on Stephen Michaels. And Steve, as we said, is yet to make a pit stop. But he's one of those drivers who gets involved and basically, in quotation marks, ruins the strategy of the guys at the front of the field, because they have to overtake him when he is still out on older tyres.
Yeah, you've got to say for Tom Satherley, he's pretty sharp for early in the morning. It's 8, 9 is not really that early, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's actually good that he moved to the World Championship this year, because Pro last year, he came second in the Pro Championship last year, was obviously at like 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, which is absolutely crazy, but it's good to see the commitment. He is the Ghostspeed team manager, as well as their star driver here in the World Championship. So it's good to see the commitment from them.
Yeah, the man who made the first pit stop of the decade in the FSR World Championship.
I'm sure he will...
I know.
Frame that. He will print that on a bit of paper and frame that. That is how important that accolade is. But I think he's going to get past Stephen Michaels here, and then you'll have to catch up a little bit to Dennis Jordan, who's just pulled away. Such is the slower pace. And just behind them is that Jim Paresis getting past as well. Though Michi Hoy is going to come past Stephen Michaels. Has he made that work? Yes, he has. And now Paresis is all over Stephen. So Stephen is getting absolutely rinsed here by all these drivers on newer tyres. And can Paresis get this done? He's going to try and slow down Stephen's exit, but then, as you say, around the outside, which is very difficult. So he's going to try and get the cutback, but then there isn't really a braking zone for the next corner. But will he have enough of the car on the inside? No, he won't on this occasion.
I would love to have seen him move down the inside of Piratella, but unfortunately, not yet. Maybe for the race lead later on. We'll wait and see what happens. Good move from Michi Hoyer, by the way, to get down the inside of to get down the inside of Stephen Michaels, following Tom Satherley through. Nearly got down the inside of Tom Satherley, but I don't think he actually wanted to. He's like, look, you're quicker than me. You're on a different strategy. Yeah, He
was probably just braking really late to make sure that he got past Steve as well, who I think is now going to finally get overtaken, I should say, by Jim Paresis, which means the brake shock will probably be coming. So this alternate strategy not quite working out the same for Stephen as it is for some others, because we now got Petter Berlak leading the race by almost 9 seconds to Alex Siebel. That was 6 seconds a few laps ago, so Petter is doing a really, really good job on these hard compound tyres. And I really bet that this man will be in a good place by the end of this race, as he always seems to find a good way with the strategy.
Yeah, of course, the only driver outside of ACR to take a race victory in 2019 at the Singapore Grand Prix. Petter Berlak came out on top of that one. Nearly won at Suzuka as well. Led most of that race. Unfortunately, had a bit of an overtake from Martin Gosby around the outside. Classic final to a Grand Prix at the Japanese Grand Prix. Snatched victory by such a tiny margin. But nevertheless, doing a great job here, ending the 30th lap here of the Formula Sim Racing World Championship San Marino Grand Prix, presented by SimLab and 3D Wrap.
And someone that we haven't really talked about this race is Jordi Zwires. He's on the back of this train of Mojek and Siebel on the alternate strategy as well. So he's in a similar position. However, he has got Luke Maguire, who's obviously made his pit stop, catching them down. So if Luke Maguire gets held up by these guys, this could hinder his strategy a little bit. But as we said before, with a two-stop strategy, which he might be doing, we don't know, but he might be doing, you have to make the overtakes work, and that is how you make the strategy into a winning strategy. But he's got 3 cars here that he needs to overtake in the next, well, hopefully 3 laps to lose as little time as possible.
Yeah, Jordi Vaz came into this, qualified in 11th position. Was having a chat to him before the race. Just all he wants is a top 10. I kind of think he's actually in a bit of a hard position to go and get that, but you never know. Now got Luke Maguire, the early race leader, probably eventual race leader after this round of pit stops, but whether he'll be leading at the end, we don't really know. Trying to get by Jordi Vaz, of course. Very talented driver is Jordi. Sometimes needs a bit more of a self-confidence boost, but I think he's going to get past here into Ravats. I don't think he's going to fight it too hard going down the inside. Luke Maguire.
There's no point really fighting it too hard for Wise because he's just going to lose time. And Luke is nothing to do with him in this race. They are going to be quite far apart, you would assume, by the end of the race. There's no point fighting it. He can get DRS here, but that is another position for Jordi. For Luke, I should say. To get himself, although Jordi's coming back here actually, or at least he thought about it, into turn number 2. And further back, Tom Sadley is caught up to the back of Dennis Jordan after they obviously got stuck behind Stephen Michaels for a little bit. But Dennis is also slowly closing down Simic, I believe, as well. So they're all sort of bunching their way back up. They're currently behind Luca Di Meglio as they were earlier on in the race, although the actual person leading the train is your own Quickle. And it's good to see him back and doing well. Considering he actually did one race in Melbourne 2018, first race of the season, but he didn't do overly great in that race, so I wasn't expecting him to be right at the front straight away, but it is great to see that he is up here and with strategy is effectively in 2nd position.
Yeah, your own Quaker, of course, the 2016 FSR World Champion. So a few years ago, mine, but definitely not rusty. Luca Di Meglio directly behind, trying to apply some pressure on the a softer compound of tyre. Of course, the mediums for Luca Di Meglio, Johan Quakel being on the hard compound.
Jordi's Wise has just got back past Luke Maguire, so maybe Luke Maguire isn't quite as quick as we thought. I did assume that Jordi was just going to let him go, but the gap to the 2 cars ahead has actually got bigger. So maybe Jordi's thinking, actually, no, I'm going to stay ahead of you and see if that's actually going to be a bit better. But if these two start battling, that's just going to lose them both time.
I think he's just looking for a bit of fun.
Or that.
Yeah, it's just, why not? Why not? Whilst you can, have a cheeky bit of fun. Battle with potential race leader. He's dropped off the back of Rodger and Siebel, who he was so close in contact with. But I think Luke Maguire is going to go down the inside. Oh, that was going to be close into Variante Alta. Had a look, didn't decide to do it, but definitely had a look.
And he's going to have another look here because Jordi doesn't have any sort of DRS to defend, but Luke's going to stay behind on this occasion. So when are these hard tyre runners going to pit? We would assume probably towards lap 40 or so, and then potentially go to a set of the mediums or softs if they're really feeling lucky. But that is something that we do need to answer because it's still a bit undecided when that is going to happen. And just to mention, Petter Burlak is now 11 seconds in the lead at the front, so he's got awesome pace.
Yeah, indeed. He's just on a 17.2 in reference to his fastest lap. 17.2. So he's very much on the money. Just banging in consistent laps. In reference to Luke Maguire, it was an 18.4, of course, with the overtake and then being overtaken. 17.9 for Jordi Vaz.
He's going down the inside here, of Jordi Vaz, and that's not a corner that you always see an overtake, but Luke's managed to make that work. But once again, this is just losing them a bit of time. The 2 cars ahead of them of Mojek and Siebel have now gone off into the distance, and the train, which is led by your own Quickle, is catching back up, and this is not good. I think we once said Maguire had a 10-second lead. Quickle is now only about 6 seconds behind Luke Maguire.
And Jerne Simic is right behind your own Quakel and Luca Di Meglio as well, and is lapping quicker. Last lap from Jerne Simic was a 17.0. Johan Quakel was a 17.4. So Jerne Simic, again, he's just slowly applying that pressure as the race lead. It's all closing up once again, as it almost always does here in the World Championship. Jordi Zvias has cleared off. Luke Maguire has cleared off from Jordi Zvias, so no threat from being re-overtaken this time by half a second separates Siebel and Rodger for second position at present.
And these guys are all bunching back up. About 5-10 laps ago, they spread out a bit after the pit stops, after traffic got involved. And now that they're all back in a line, they are sort of bunching back up and getting all close together, like we saw towards the end of the first stint as well. And something that's just been pointed out to us, which is a very good fact, is Petter is only 20 seconds ahead of Simoncic, which means once he makes his pit stop, he is not going to be too far behind, and he's going to be on a set of tyres that are going to be very quick indeed.
But then being on quicker tyres and getting by, two very, very different things.
Luke's round.
Luke Maguire, yeah, what's happened there?
I just caught the end of that, but he is now only a second or so ahead of Jeroen Quiegel. So if he has to make a two-stop, this is not worked out at all for Luke Maguire. And I will grab a replay to see what happened to the Irishman. He's coming down to Variante Outer. And I do wonder if he just clunks the curb. Oh, no, it's on power. It was on the power.
Oh, he's just been passed by Jeroen Quiegel, by the way. Whilst we're on this replay, he's just been passed by one of his sister teammates. Jeroen Quiegel moves up in the 5th position. That spin from Luke Maguire has thrown this race absolutely at the fan. Luca Di Melio has also been passed by Jeroen Simoncic. So Simoncic suddenly is now looking at the person that was running away with the race lead earlier on in this.
Yes, those two overtakes on the same lap there for Simoncic and Quiegel as well. So it's putting those two in a very good position for later on in this race. And as you said, Luke has really just thrown this away. So he's really going to have to try and go to the end of the race now, because if he makes a second pit stop, he's going to be 20-odd seconds behind. And catching that up is going to be very difficult indeed. And I would now put a lot of money on Simoncic to do well in this race, now that he has only basically got one car in between him and Quiegel.
To me, right? Now this is early. This is early game talk here. We're only halfway through this race, etc., etc. I don't think Luke Maguire is going to the end. I think he would have destroyed his tyres too much. But then again, people have doubted his tyre ability before. Rodger has passed Siebel, by the way, at second position. So now gets into that second position, passes the German driver, Alex Siebel. For me, I'm going to pull 3 names here that I think are up for victory this afternoon. Could be a long shot on some of them. Jeroen Simoncic, obviously. Dennis Jordan, I think, is one. I think Petter Burlak is the other. I think those are the 3 that I'm very much eyeing up for a potential victory from this point in the race, because I think Jeroen Quiegel, he's got to come in the pit lane. I think he does. Luke Maguire, I'd say it'd be very hard pressed to get to the end of the Grand Prix from this point. Luca Di Melio, definitely not on those tyres. I think it comes to those 3.
And I think, from my calculations, I've just had a double check. I do believe that Petter, at this moment in time, will come out 5 seconds behind Simoncic, and he will have like 20 or at least 15-20 laps to catch that up. So Petter could be the one to look out for, as you say. But now, is Luca Maguire going to be having a look back at Quiegel? Maybe not. You would assume that as these are sister teammates, they have some sort of communication with each other to try and not destroy each other's races.
Well, we'll wait and see. He's not really caught up to that. But look, from Jeroen Simoncic, closing up to the back of Luke Maguire, going to pick the outside into Tamburello. Going to try and commit around the outside. No, he is not. He's going to drop back in line.
I don't know.
Nearly went for it.
I don't know if that was Simoncic being early on the brakes or if that was Luke being super late. But Luke broke so much later than Simoncic. That looked a pretty good defence from Luke, has to be said. And
I think, they didn't want to try it around the outside.
Yeah, but also he's sort of helping Quiegel at this moment in time, keeping that one car buffer between Simoncic and Quiegel.
Some people did some calculations, assuming that Jeroen Quiegel might be able to go to the end. He's only got to do 43 laps. We're currently 38 laps into this race. Petter Burlak's a cyclist. So it is very possible for Jeroen Quiegel to be going to the end. You're absolutely right.
He's the one, because that round lap 20 is like the questionable one. Simoncic definitely is. He committed to that. But around lap 20, we'll have to see. But because they're on the hard tyres, you would assume that they are going to the end. But it just depends who has the better tyre wear. Simoncic will have like 5 laps younger tyres. And was that someone going in the pits? Yes, it was. So that relieves another car for these cars to overtake. And that means that Quico is going to have no DRS.
Michi Hoy is getting past Tom Savley, P9. Michi Hoy just slipstreamed his way by, uses a bit of DRS, and boom, there's another position. Thank you very much. The German up another one. Our championship leader moving up into 9th position, Tom Savley down to 10th.
It's crazy how you really don't know who's actually going to finish on the podium today.
Tom Savley's just dropped another position to Jim Parisis after running wide at Villeneuve. Yeah, you have no idea what's going to be going on at the moment. It's mad.
Because, I mean, Sadly, remember, was ahead of Simoncic, and now Simoncic is 5 places ahead of Sadly. So that's just how a race can change quickly. And as we said before, we're pretty sure Sadly needs to pit as well. And Parisis.
Unless they are just going to say, nah, I'm just going to the end. Big joke, Peter Burlak, pit lane. Here we go.
Mediums?
Mediums.
Graphics have not dated. There we go. Mediums.
Oh, God, that gave me a bit of a heart attack. Don't do that to us.
Okay, where does he come out? By our calculations, he's going to be roughly in the region of 5 or so seconds behind Simoncic.
Should be just behind Brakshock, I think.
Now, obviously...
Maybe just ahead. No,
yeah,
just behind.
Obviously, that gap is actually going to be a bit bigger to the actual technical race leader, which is Quico, but he is behind a Netrex of, who is that? Danny Van Der Neat. Yeah, so he's got some work to do, but he's got 24 laps, including this one. Oh, someone's gone off. Who is that? Jim Parisis. Jim Parisis has gone off at turn 1. I'm going to grab a replay of this. Let's see what he does. He's all on his own. Does he just clip the grass or something like that? Loses the rear. Loses the rear out of turn 3. Does he hit the wall? No. Just about.
He did a bit.
He brushed it.
He brushed it. Front wings in fine condition. Stellar condition, some would say. The car, not so much.
Yeah, he's probably going to definitely have to make a pit stop with the flat spots.
Luke Maguire P9. He's been off the road again.
What? Same corner. Same corner as he went off before. Let's grab this. So he's actually been off twice on this lap. So let's just run the replay through the full thing. So into Minerale. Yeah, went on the curb, went wide. He's going to be side by side with Simoncic. Well, actually, Simoncic has got the position. Then he's going to go off track again, coming out of Variante Outer. Yeah, exactly the same as he did before. Coming out of that corner.
And he's in the pits as well. Jim Paris is also in the pits. David Morocek also in the pits.
So yeah, loaded
onto the mediums.
Loaded 2 stoppers indeed. So we now need to see how far, if at all, they can catch these up with about 22 laps to go.
Isn't it mad that the guy that was running away with a race win has now got a lot of work ahead of him to get even a point from this Grand Prix?
But that's
how
good,
tight. That's how tight it is in the World Championship, and that is why we. That's why we like commentating. That's why we like watching it, because it's absolutely it's bonkers.
Yeah, but that is why we like coming to these races, as you say, because you never know what's going to happen. And someone like Luke Maguire, who, as we said before the race started, he hasn't had a properly good top result, or at least like a race win in the World Championship, and unfortunately he may have thrown away another one here today, but we have to see how much he can catch up. Let's see where he is on the track. Leaders are coming across the start finish line. He is only up here.
D'Amelio's coming to pit lane, so there's that pit stop from Luke D'Amelio, relinquishing his position in the top lot. This promoted Michi Hoyer, by the way. He's going to be in 4th once Alex Siebel pits.
Slowly working his way up, isn't he? Slowly working his way up. Because if you think about it, I mean, ahead of him earlier were D'Amelio. He's done 2 stop. Sadly, he's dropped off a little bit because of strategy as well. So he's just slowly working up those places one by one. And obviously Luke Maguire as well with the mistake. And that is sometimes how you get a good result. You just stay there. You keep it on the grey stuff. And you keep it going quickly. And that is exactly what Michi Hoyer, as we said, he's your championship leader as well. So he's got something to defend.
A previous lap time, by the way, from Jeroen Kwekel and Jane Simoncic, absolutely identical. A 1:16.687 for the pair of them, which, by the way, is a blisteringly quick lap time at this point in the Grand Prix. But those two matching each other pound for pound to the thousandth of the second.
Fun fact, that is actually quicker than what Petter Burlak is doing on brand new medium tyres as well. Having said Burlak, we just went on board with him. He is actually behind a bit of traffic, so he does need to get past them. And that is Brakshock and Van den Eet.
Yeah, got a little bit of work to do. Needs to get by ASAP. He's going to pick up the slipstream.
Oh, sorry. I thought Kwekel just ran into the back of Siebel, but he judged that to the millimetre to not touch the German. But that has given Simoncic a good chance to get right on the back of him.
Well, that gets by Brakshock, now staring at the back of Danny Van den Eet, by the way, a little bit further down the order. But now Petter Burlak is 9 seconds off of your race lead. So got a bit of work to do to make his way up to that top group. But I get the feeling once he passes Van den Eet, which will probably happen into Tamburello, he might be a free agent to move his way up the field.
And as he has done quite a few times in the past, he often tries an alternate strategy and that sort of stuff. So we know that he can do it, but can he do it in time is what he really needs to look out for. But Alex Siebel still out there. I do wonder if this is a little bit of strategy to help his teammate Dennis Jordan get in a good position. There's now 20 laps to go, so I would assume he's potentially coming in for a set of possibly soft compound tyres.
And thank you to Alex Siebel and Tom Sutherland comes to the pit lane, but thank you, because now you've put it to the top 4, all within 1.3 seconds. Mitchie Hoyer going to try and go around the outside Dennis Jordan for third position, not really going to commit to that. But these top 4, very, very close. Petter Burlak as well. Danny Van den Eet has come into the pit lane. So Burlak is in 5th position. Janus Brakshock in 6th. Sander Kallas in 7th. Now Burlak will be able to catch up to this top 4. We still have 20 laps of the San Marino Grand Prix to go. So plenty of time.
He can do this. 5 seconds, 20 laps. He can definitely do that. It just depends how many of those cars he can actually overtake as well, because he's got 4 cars to overtake, and Imola is notoriously difficult, although we've seen quite a few overtakes today. But when they all get to the end of the race and everyone's fighting for position, they're going to give absolutely no millimeters of space. They're going to be right on the limit. So he's going to have to take that into account as well when he gets there. But as you can see, we've got these front 4 drivers all on the one stop, and then the drivers behind them catching them down on those alternate strategies.
This lap from Burlak, by the way, he's caught a second in 2 sectors. He is absolutely blitzing it at the top end of the field. Jeroen Kwekel currently still half a second over Jane Simoncic. Simoncic is backing off at the moment. Just a bit of a note, like you were saying about this track being difficult, I know we've seen plenty of overtakes. To overtake someone when you have DRS and they do not is a 15-4 fastest lap of the race from Petter Burlak. Flippin' heck.
That is 1.6 seconds quicker than Jane Simoncic. 1.6. And you can see him in the background now. He is getting very close. He is going to be easily in this fight, as we said. It just depends how can he manage getting past them.
Well, like I was saying, to pass someone when you have DRS and they don't, easy. It's around here. It's not too difficult because the slipstream is actually quite big in these cars. But fair enough. The thing is, for Burlak to get by Mitchie, Dennis, Jerne, and then pass someone without DRS, very, very difficult because the DRS, it's obviously it's when you've got that DRS open, the slipstream effect is much, much less. It would actually be a lot easier for him to get by if we didn't have DRS at all. But because we have DRS, that means that his slipstream is lower because of obviously that's how it works. That's science. He's got a hard task to pass the cars ahead.
But he is certainly going to try, and he's probably going to have somewhere in the region of 9 to 10 laps by the time he catches them up. Although just behind him is Janos Brakshock, and then behind him is Kalas Mrozek, and then Jordi Zweiz, who you said earlier on, who just wanted a top 10. He is currently in 9th position on strategy. He's made his pit stop. So can he hold it out to get a point in the World Championship?
He's got at least 2 drivers behind there that are going to be coming at him very, very quick. Because the thing is, Luca D'Amelio, his teammate, made a recent pit stop. Alex Siebel also made a recent pit stop and on the soft tyres. So he's got a bit of work to hang on to ninth. But nevertheless, a valiant effort at the moment.
And Tom Satherley, he was ahead of Simicic, and he's now in 15th place.
And now Luke McGuire.
And also Luke McGuire's how strategy can turn on its head sometimes. But that is why we come and we do a live broadcast, because we don't know what is going to happen.
This takes me back to the 2012 European Grand Prix in Formula One, where I think with like 5 laps to go, Michael Schumacher was in 8th position. Come the checker flag was in 3rd. My point from this is that we've got 18 laps to go in this race.
Michi Hoyer, I think, is going to be making an overtake here on Dennis Jordan, although it looked like he was catching, but then he couldn't quite make it on the second half of the straight. But Michi's certainly looking.
Yeah, this final bit when everyone sticks it up into quali mode is going to be absolutely whack. Dennis Jordan's dropped off the back of Jone Simicic. But yeah, this order over the next 15 laps could be very, very different come that checker flag. I mean, maybe Luke McGuire's still in it for the victory. Who knows?
Well, we've got Siebel going past, trying to go past D'Amelio into turn number 2. Couldn't quite make that work, but now Luke McGuire's all over the back of him, and all over the back of him is Tom Satherley. So this is all getting quite spicy just for the last point, who is currently being held by Thomas Vack.
Also, 46 laps completed in this race. 20 cars still in it.
It's amazing. It's considering how this race could have gone if you look at some of the corners that we have at this track, and we saw, for instance, like Luke McGuire spinning a couple of times, even Jim Parisis, but they all managed to keep it out of the barriers, which is good to see.
The fastest in the top 4 is running a 16.5. Peter Burlack's still in the 15s.
He's getting
mad quick. I wonder if he's using a bit of that fuel though. It means he might have a bit less punch come the end of the race, and that could be very, very crucial to get by that top lot. I'm assuming he is very, very aware of that. I was chatting to Peter Burlack when I did a race for Edge Sports in a different series another time. By the way, Tom Savley's about to get by Luke McGuire going around the outside of Tamburello. Oh, and he is going to make it work. A bit of contact between the two. But Tom Savley goes around the outside of our previous race leader. Basically, there was multiple mix modes and etc. And he was like, no, just keep changing it. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, just change it. Use it a bit there. Use it a bit there. No, you're not changing it quick enough. And I'm like, I can't compute this. And he is. I guarantee you, he is very much flicking between modes as he's going, thinking about where he can use more fuel, where he can use this. He is very on it. Is Peter Burlack.
And that is probably his star trait. Out of sort of all the talents a driver can have, his sort of the mental ability that he has whilst driving is probably the highest out of all of the drivers. Like his mental capacity, I mean, is probably the highest with, as you say, changing mix modes, calculating things, working out tyre wear and things like that. But then that is why he is an FSR World Champion. Back in 2015 now, it has to be said, but since then he has been competitive in multiple seasons, winning multiple races, and also for multiple teams he's driven for since then as well, but he still remains competitive at all times.
Yeah, of course. If he this is a long shot, this is a long way away, but if he was to win the World Championship this year, it would be the joint longest distance between 2 championships. Roy Colber, I think, was the last one. I think it was like 2003 to 2008.
Yes,
something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So 5 years between there, 5 years between this one. So that's a record he could go for.
Or he could wait till next year and then break the record.
Yeah. You don't want to win it this year, mate. You want to break that record. No one wants a triple world champion. You have to go after Bono's record for that.
Yeah, there's still some way to go for someone to reach Bono House's record, it has to be said. And we did mention this last race as well, is how over the last, 5 years, we've had 5 different champions, which just shows you how unpredictable the World Championship can be on occasions.
Yeah, the 5 championships being 5 different people. Huis, Berliak, Quakel, Patel, and D'Alessandro. Oh, and Yanis Simic, so 6. I can do maths, it's fine. Wow, what is going on now then? So Berliak is right on this train for the race lead now, and he's got still 14 laps to get by, so he's got time.
And hopefully he's got tyres, because he's only had to spend about 10 laps catching them up. Doing absolute push laps, but he is already on the back of Michi Hoyer. Look at this. He might be thinking about a move already into the final part of this track, although he lost a bit of time there through the chicane, so he might have to rework that down to turn number 2. But he's certainly put himself in a really good position to at least get a podium here today.
Indeed, he is pushing to the very, very limit. 2 seconds separating that top 5. They are a good 6 seconds clear of Janis Brakshok in 6th position, who's sort of having a bit of a race on his own. We said last round he had a bit of a race under the radar. This one's also pretty much the same. After this halfway point, he's just been like, just cruising here, mate.
Yeah, he's on basically the whole straight by himself, which is crazy. Although just behind them, we got Sander Kallas, I think, being overtaken there by David Mocek. So Kallas down to 8th position. So again, a quiet race for him, but that'll be 3 points he will get if he finishes in 8th position. Just behind them, Geordie Wise has actually still got a decent gap to the cars behind, so he might be able to get himself 2 points there. But Thomas Vack defending. There's 5 drivers behind him almost in a train for that final point.
I'm pretty sure he's glad that the first of those is Jos Araneda, because if it was Luca D'Amelio, Alex Siebel, Tom Savley, even Luke Maguire, who's a little bit further off the back of it, I'm pretty sure he'd be like, oh yeah, they're probably going to pass pretty soon. But because he's got that buffer, it's almost okay.
Yes, it's all right, because well, I mean, that's nothing to take away from Jos. He did get a 4th position in Spa, but we do know someone like Luca or Siebel is very quick, although Luca has actually just got past Jos here into the Variante Alta. That is a really unusual place to make an overtake, but that could leave Siebel a chance to get down the inside of the final corner. No, he's not going to do that. Jos is going to defend, but this could be where this little bubble breaks and all these drivers start coming after Thomas Vack, because Siebel is going to be passed before they even open DRS almost, coming down the start-finish line. And just behind them, Luke Maguire is going to try and get past Tom Sadley as well. It's awesome to see these guys fighting, despite this being for not even points in a couple of these positions. And Sadley and Luke Maguire again go side by side through turn 2 and 3, but once again, they come out on top.
Thank you, boys, for showing us how you can go side by side for that corner without punting each other off. Good stuff. Tom Sadley, Luke Maguire. Well done. The second time you've done it as well. There was a little bit of contact in the first one, but we'll ignore that. It's fine. No one got pushed off the road, and that's what we like to see. Jos Araneda going to get passed by Tom Savley. Oh, it's a Piratella. Near contact between the two, but just an inch between the two of them. Luke Maguire has decided not to try and stick his nose in. Oh, it's whack on the rise. Contact between the two. Oh, he just locked his rears a little bit, did Luke Maguire. Tom Savley trying to get a by Jos Araneda. This battle for 13th position at the moment on the road here at San Marino.
And these guys are only 30 seconds off the lead, which just shows how close the field has relatively stayed, despite a few issues for some drivers. And sadly, he's getting very aggressive now behind Jos. And it's pretty crazy. These two drivers are on the complete opposite side of the world, because Jos is from Chile and Tom is from New Zealand. So it's quite cool to see drivers from all over the world. Although just behind them, Danny Van Der Neet is actually going to be getting past Luke Maguire as well. But we'll keep our eyes on Tom Sadley as he gets past Jos Araneda. So double overtake on the straight there. One for Sadley and one also for Danny Van Der Neet, who's now right behind Jos Araneda, and Luke Maguire's getting all feisty, and then Jim Paresis has caught up as well. So this is getting great. All the drivers still battling here for positions here in Imola.
Yeah, it's never boring. Oh, going around the outside. Luke Maguire, you can't do that. Oh, my goodness me. Around the outside of Toza. He's just there. He's dropping back a little bit from Van Der Neet, but he's going to try and stick it around the outside of Piratella. Oh, that's going to be a little bit brave. He's going to get hooked on that curb, which you were talking about earlier in the broadcast. Jim Paresis not able to get down the inside. Luke Maguire hangs on to 16th place at the moment. That was a valiant effort around the outside of Toza, trying to make it stick around the outside of Piratella. Oh, but that was brave stuff. I think Van Der Neet pushed maybe a little bit too hard, but no contact between the two.
Michi Hoyer round the outside. Wow, he's got that work. That's awesome. He's tried that a few times and he hasn't been able to make it work. But Michi Hoyer finally getting past Dennis Jordan for third place. He's on the podium. And that's probably a really good timing considering how close Burlak is now. And he is going to attack Jordan. Not quite. But this has broken up this top 5 up a little bit. But Petter now has a bit of a gap between Hoyer and Jordan, which is going to make the overtake a little bit easier when he finally attempts one.
Yeah, Luca Di Melio also has got by Thomas Vacken up into the points pair position, so 2 ghost speed singularities inside the points at the moment. I will say, if someone tells me that you can't go around the outside of Tamburello one more time, I'm going to give him a slap.
Jos Arenado's round. Jos Arenado's round. I think there was contact with Luke Maguire, and
Maguire's
there's
regressing.
Another car involved there. Let's grab a replay. Let's go to Jos Arenado coming into Tosa. Maguire's already on his gearbox. What does Luke do? Luke sends it down the inside. Can't quite see if Jos leaves him enough room, but there was certainly contact. And did you say, Luke waited up?
Big respect to Luke Maguire there. I think, obviously that angle is probably not the best to adjudicate the incident from, but obviously Luke Maguire feels at fault of that and backed out of it, immediately redressed the position, and as much as it's maybe not the position he wants to be fighting for, heavy respect to him for that, closing 8 laps of this
Alex
Grand Prix.
Siebel now going past Thomas Vack. So Vack unfortunately dropping out of the points here, and Siebel has got past him as well. So we got the 2 Ghost Speed Singularity cars in 9th and 10th, and now Alex Siebel is going to be chasing them down for that final position with only 8 laps to go here in Imola.
Yeah, indeed. Nice move from Alex Siebel. Still outside the points himself, but staring at the back of Luca Di Melio, who's closing in on his teammate Jordi's Vaz. I think Jordi's got a bit of work to do. We spoke about it earlier, to keep hold of a points-paying position at the moment, because he's going to have a few fast drivers approaching him, wanting those points for themselves. At the moment, though, at this point in the Grand Prix, your own Quakel, our 2016 world champion, leading the way.
Petter Burlak, though. Petter Burlak is going to be getting past Dennis Jordan here, I would assume. He's got right alongside of him, though sometimes that's actually bad because he's lost the effect of the slipstream, so he's going to have to do it on the brakes. We know how good Dennis is, and Petter gets that. That is a really nice move there by the 2015 world champion. He is up to 4th position. Now, one of your drivers for the win was Dennis Jordan, but unfortunately that might be him just out of the running, at least for now, as Petter makes up another move. So that is 1 off the list, 3 to go.
I've got 2 drivers still up. Nearly. It's fine. I think it's going to be a tough call for Dennis to come back to that. Maybe he's just dropped back. Maybe there's a couple of mistakes. Maybe he still will. Obviously, time will tell on that one. But I think Petter Burlak's keeping his eyes very much forward and just trying to get by. He's got another, like you say, 3 to do to get to that lead. But the next one is your World Championship leader, currently on the podium. I think it'll be the first time that he'd go on back-to-back podiums, but I think Petter Burlak might put an end to that pretty shortly for Michi Hoyer. Still a very, very impressive drive from the German driver.
And on this lap, sadly got past Vack as well, so unfortunately Vack is going to be dropping back here even more. But sadly in 12th position on that 2-stop strategy at this moment in time anyway. And this front group's squeezing up. I mean, they're really getting close now. And Quico has led for so long now, hasn't he? I do hope that he's, saved enough fuel, because obviously the cars behind in Slipstream will have plenty of fuel, because you just naturally save fuel in Slipstream because of less drag. But also tyres as well, because Quico could be pushing a little bit too much to stay ahead, whereas the others can go easily around the corners and then catch back up in the Slipstream.
I'll remind you of the Japanese Grand Prix last year where, like we said, it was a last lap pass for Martin Gosby to take that victory. But the reason why it happened, there wasn't really much passing prior to that in the race between the top block. That was almost like his one move of the race, and it was for the lead. And the thing was, is through all that time, I'm assuming Simončić is in the same boat, of course, ex-teammates to Martin Gosby, basically sitting there, saving his fuel, thinking about what he can do on those last few laps. Come the last couple, he'll turn it up and then absolutely bomb it around the circuit, trying to get by your own Quakel for that race lead.
First DNF of the day is Jos Araneda. Let's grab a replay with what happened. I believe he went off track multiple times, but let's have a look as he comes here into turn number 1. We were doing so well, almost had all 20 drives get to the finish of the race, and yeah, he did similar to what Paresis did.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that is Jos out of the race and no points for ground effect today.
Yeah, shame, but nevertheless, that is what happens. It wasn't the biggest crash, but I think he'd hit the wall and was like, look, no, I'm out, thanks. It can be very frustrating running.
Yeah, there's only 5 laps to go, and after that spin, he might have destroyed his tyres a little bit as well, as you can do with the big flat spots. So, unfortunately, possibly the smarter choice to DNF in that situation. But it's a shame because Ground Effect are a good bunch of guys, and Jos as well. He's such a nice guy, so hopefully he can get some better results like he did in the Belgium Grand Prix last year later on this season.
Or Paresis has got by Thomas back as well, 14th position. That was a nice move into Piratella, so the teammate of the guy we're looking at. That's one of the things. By the way, Jordi Zvias is coming under pressure from his teammate. There's now 1.2 seconds coming into the final 5 laps of this Grand Prix. As we keep our eye on that top lot, you can still see it is still your own Quakel leading the way from Jerne Simoncic, Michi Hoyer, Burlak, Jordan, Brakshock, Marocek, Callas, Jordi Zvias and Luca D'Amelio rounding out your point scorers this afternoon as it stands with 5 laps to go. Expect that order to be rather different.
And
25k.
We've still got the top 9 cars being in 9 different teams, which is awesome for a number of reasons. One, just because variety is always good. But second of all, that means the Constructors' Championship is going to stay nice and tight and nice and wide open, which is always good to see as well. But these top 5, they are bunching right up, and we are going to come to have 4 laps to go next time by, which means there's 8 DRS
Luke
zones.
Maguire out of the race as well, second retirement. How many times in the World Championship have we seen it come down to this? Whether it's between 5 drivers, 2 drivers, 3, whatever. It's always the last part of the race. It absolutely just ignites. Jerne Simoncic, I think it might be close. He's going to try. No, not yet.
He closed his DRS about 400 meters before the braking zone because he was like, yeah, nah, not trying that around the outside.
Absolutely. It's absolutely stunning. Of course, if you're liking what you're watching, give the stream a good like. Give it a share.
Oh, Petter has gone around. Petter Burlak has had a mini half spin, just like he did in Malaysia. He's thrown away the chance for, well, potential victory here today. But just like he did in Malaysia, he has managed to get back going without too many issues ahead of David Mocek. But let's grab a replay to see what happened to Petter Burlak as he comes out of the second chicane, which I believe is turn 5 and 6. He's going to spin up the rear tyres on the curb, I would assume. Yeah. Dennis did a really good job to avoid him. But let's also have a look with a couple of other drivers. We had Alex Sieber, who I believe has just gone off.
Go back to the race lead. I am sorry, but we are very close here for the race lead. It was only 4 tenths. There was having a look down into Rivazza. I think he may have just dropped back, but look at this slipstream, and this is it. Surely this is it for Jerne Simoncic, closing again and again and again. He's right, turned it up. DRS open to the race lead. Goes your world champion, Jerne Simoncic, passing the 2016 title winner, Michi Hoyer. Michi Hoyer, Ron Quakel, that's it, I'm with it. And our current championship leader, Michi Hoyer, Dennis Jordan in 4th position. You're quite right on how far Petter Burlak's dropped back. He's now in the clutches of David Marocek and Janis Brakshock as well, further down in the points. Oh, it's very much igniting here.
Let's just watch Simoncic here absolutely go off into the distance. I think he's going to be pushing super hard now because even if Hoyer manages to get past Quakel, Simoncic is going to have made a massive gap, and it's already up to 1.5 seconds in literally half a lap.
Yeah, he's gone. He's absolutely gone. I think Michi Hoyer might be trying to get by this lap. Yeah, I think your own Quakel didn't save fuel and didn't save tyres. Obviously, how could he? Sitting out there in the front.
And Hoyer's coming really quickly here. Is he even going to go into the final corner? No. We haven't really seen too many moves there. This DRS zone is more of a setup to get yourself in a good position for this start-finish straight. So can Hoyer do what his sister teammate did just one lap ago down into turn number 2? Hoyer, Simčić managed to get past before the
Easy.
braking zone, and Hoyer has done the exact same. So once again, Kweekel leads the race and then struggles a little bit in the final stages. So maybe that is something that he needs to work on a little bit, but he's still on a podium for now, at least.
Burst Esports 1-2 at the moment. Of course, 2 different bursts. Oh, Alex Siebel's been round. Alex Siebel's been round further down the points. Luca D'Amelio's battling away with teammate Jordi Zviers. I think with that spin though from Alex Siebel, those two are safe to share those points at the back. Let's grab a replay and see what happened. Coming out. Oh, he's Cameron Rodgered it.
Who else was it? Was it Jos Araneda did that
Jos
as well
Araneda, yeah,
earlier on?
Unfortunately, you bought the trademark a bit earlier this afternoon.
Well, yes, not always the accolade that drivers want, being the one to spin at a certain corner, but unfortunately that is what happens. And we are coming on to the final lap of the race. 2 and a bit seconds Simčić has in the lead. So the real answer now is, can Dennis Jordan get Evolution Motorsports' first ever podium in the Formula Sim Racing World Championship? He is going to be very close, and I think Kweekel's done here. Look how slow he is in a straight line. He does have DRS though, but look at Jordan's low speed. Oh, gets a really good defend. Jordan's going to send it down the inside here. Look how close he is. Bit of contact. Dennis is going around. Can he keep it out of the... Oh, Kweekel's gone around as well. Kweekel has gone around. Both of them have gone around. Can they get back on in front of Petar? Yes, they can. So we still don't know who's going to be on the podium because they're still side by side. But can Petar actually sneak something here, potentially into the final sector? And Dennis really had to make that opportunity work, but what just wasn't quite as assured move as some other people have made. And Petar is actually getting very close now as well. But it does...
Probably not his proudest moment for either of those two. It was a racing instant between the two. They both just kind of came into each other. Petar Burlak now right in the back of him. I don't think he is going to be able to get by though. It is tight, but they've only really got one opportunity, and that's down into rFactor at the very end of the lap. Speaking of rFactor at the very end of the lap, Jone Simčić is already coming through it, and it has been an impressive drive, well calculated from the world champion, exactly what we expected. But leaving San Marino, the second Grand Prix of the season, Jone Simčić this time comes on top, and Michi Hoyer in second position means we have a joint championship lead leaving the second round. Your own Kweekel going to come across and secure himself a podium, but it's not going to be by very much as Dennis Jordan grabs 4th position. A great result for him. Petar Burlak after his spin takes 5th position. Rodger in 6th. Janis Brakšok in 7th. Sander Kallis in 8th. Jordi Zviers is actually very, very close to Sander Kallis and does take a 9th position. Luca D'Amelio rounds out the point scorers, meaning the only team that has a repeat in the top 10 is Singularity Go Speed, which is not something I would have said. It was a good drive from D'Amelio. Maybe could have got a bit more. Of course, there are plenty of drivers up and down this grid who probably could have taken a bit more from this afternoon's race. D'Amelio, Sadly, of course, Maguire as well. Jim Parisis probably could have taken a little bit more from this afternoon, but nevertheless, that's how it is. So Tom Savley in 11th position, Danny Van Der Neet in 12th, Jim Parisis in 13th position, Alex Siebel only 14th after maybe a potential point score was on the cards, but not quite. Has to live with the 2 points that he got. Or might have been even more. I think it was 6th or something in the last one. Stephen Michaels in 15th, Thomas Vack in 16th position, Robin Panzar and Jakub Karkovic rounding out your finishers. Luke Maguire and Jos Araneda, the 2 retirements from the race, but nevertheless a fantastic Grand Prix. Another one to take us through this 2020 season. Jone Simčić is your race winner.
And that is just the type of race we've seen Simčić do so many times. He was down to like 5th or 6th position at one point at the start, but he didn't worry. He just did his strategy. He did what he knew could work, and he managed to make that one-stop strategy work. So that is a very good job for him. But then that is why he is the 2019 Winter Series champion and Formula Sim Racing World Champion. So we will see. Actually, he's jumped right in, so we will get a word of him now. So let's have a chat with Jone. Are you there?
I'm here.
So how was that? You managed to make the one-stop work, but it was a very close race. You had to overtake Kweekel towards the end there, but it was very close in general. There was a lot of drivers that could have potentially got on the podium today.
Yeah, it was a classic DRS train race. I don't know why you guys keep doing this to us, because it's more like a psychological competition than actual race, for at least for most of the race. Yeah, it was just like trying to keep my tires alive in the first stint, nail the pit stop, not get in traffic, which was successful, and then I just had to take Quickly's DRS and wait there and not make any single mistake. And this is so hard to do, like 30 laps or so, just doing consistent lap times. Like one single mistake and he's out of DRS, and I lose again the tires to catch him, and it's such a mental battle. And yeah, in the end, we got the actual race for last 5 laps, I guess, and I could just enjoy the proper full push for the last 2 laps, which was quite enjoyable.
And you now will be, I believe, sharing the the top of the championship with Michi Hoyer, so that should be a pretty good battle between you. So we'll bring Michi in now. So that was a good job from you today, Michi. You had to work your way up there. You were down in like 8th or 9th place for quite a lot of that that race, but you managed to make it work in the end. How was that for you?
Yeah, actually, it's a great relief to end up in second place. Qualifying didn't go too well. I butchered the first 2 laps, and then the third attempt was not optimal, but starting 8th and then being connected to the train was important. And then in the middle of the race, we had to do an overtake together with Dennis Jordan. He was actually, I think, overtaking Southerly. Or Brashok, who was on a 2-stop, and it was so crucial for me to get past then and stay in the train and not get held up by the 2-stoppers, then losing the tires at that point. And yeah, in the end, making it up to second place is just phenomenal. It's just so awesome. Coming out of 8th was indeed a good recovery drive, I hope, and yeah, feels good.
Yeah, so looking towards the next few races, obviously you two getting first and second, and now second and first, you're going to be leading the championship together. So do you think this is going to be a close battle between you two for the whole season? Do you think you can keep this going?
Yeah, I mean, I will definitely challenge Yanni, but I mean, you've seen all the class today. He's done the move right in the end. I think he could have gone for a move on Quickle earlier, but yeah, he used his brain well and did it in the end. So I did it the next lap, but in the meanwhile, Yanni was putting up the boost and was 2 seconds away. So there was this time no chance for me to do a late move. But yeah, I'm gonna try to compete against him, but I'm pretty sure that he's going to be the favorite for this year.
Well, there's certainly a few other drivers who could get involved. As we saw today, there was quite a lot of drivers who could have potentially got a race win, or at least on the podium, which is good for both the drivers and the constructors' titles. But we will next be out on the 12th of April, the United States Grand Prix from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The first time we've been there since, I believe, 2014, the same as Imola today. So we'll have to see how that one goes. New-ish track to the series, but yes, until then, this was the Formula Sim Racing World Championship supported by SimLab and 3D Wrap. And until the 12th of April, we wish you a very good evening.